What's going on, everybody? Thank you so much for coming back to another video. And in today's video, we're going to be talking about The Revenant. I'm not going to lie, this is my 5th time trying to film this video, and I've gotten pretty far every time, and I just don't really enjoy the way I'm saying what I'm saying, and I just feel like I'm all scatterbrained. So if you are seeing this and this is the version that ends up getting uploaded, I made it through, guys. I made it through. I'm at the point of literally wanting to grab my beard, rip it off, hopefully thinking that it would rip my jaw off and I'd bleed out and die, just because of how annoyed I am over this situation now. With all that said, let's go ahead and introduce my guest. I have Esley from Entertainment Fanatic. Look at that. I can't even, I'm so sorry, Esley. Look at this. Look at this. What's wrong with you, Anthony? What the fuck? Anyway, here we go. Super happy to be joined by Esley from Entertainment Fanatic. Oh my God. I'm super happy to be joined by Esley from Entertainment Fanatic Reviews to join me here for this collab on The Revenant. Last time he was here on the channel, we talked about Jason Goes to Hell. It's been quite some time since he's been here on the channel, but let's go ahead and get into this review because it's taking way too goddamn long. We're going to be hearing from Esley in just a little bit. You guys can find a link to his channel down below in the description box. Go give him some love. Let him know I sent you, and let's get into this. The Revenant came out a few years ago, and I remember seeing this movie in theaters and having a really great time with it. I still really thoroughly enjoy this film, find it to be an incredibly well-directed, well-acted film that uses natural lighting beautifully, has some great cinematography, some great costume design, some great use of practical effects, and some CG that is a little bit noticeable at times, but really blends in well with the film. You have Leonardo DiCaprio winning an Oscar for this film finally, and I think it's well-deserved. His performance in this film, though is mainly grunts and groans, is incredibly believable, and I just thoroughly enjoy him in this film. You also have people like Domhnall Gleeson, who is the leader of this group of Poulters that they have in this film, which is what Leonardo DiCaprio's character is a part of. And then you have Tom Hardy, who is the villain of this film. Now, if I'm not mistaken, this is based loosely on some sort of real events. I don't know if that's 100% accurate. I should have probably looked that up before doing this, or at least in between one of these takes, but I didn't. So yeah, in and of itself, I find this to be an incredibly great revenge tale where Leonardo DiCaprio just gives one of the best performances of his career, and it's absolutely mesmerizing to watch this movie just on a visual level in and of itself. The basic premise of this film, like I mentioned, is you have this group of Pelters that Leonardo DiCaprio's character is a part of, and he's going around with his son, who is the offspring of an interracial relationship with a Native American woman. You learn pretty early on that the mother is now dead, and it's just him and his son, who is part Native American, but very much looks Native American. And because of that, there's a lot of racism, there's a lot of prejudice. He's afraid for his son at all times. He's constantly telling his son to keep his head down, not to really say much, and not to really stir anything, up as far as any problems, because he doesn't want something bad to happen to his son. That's when issues start to arise with Tom Hardy's character, and one day when Leonardo DiCaprio's character is completely and utterly destroyed by a grizzly bear in one of the best animal attack scenes I've ever seen, Tom Hardy's character ends up kind of using this whole situation to kind of have the upper hand. Real quick before I continue on with the rest of the movie, what I will say is I really love that bear attack scene. It's incredibly intense and engaging. I remember seeing it the first time in theater and being so engaged and just kind of, squinting my eyes and just being so kind of worried for the character played by Leonardo DiCaprio. And I actually recently just watched a video about animal experts kind of seeing different movie scenes that have to do with animals and them kind of breaking it down and kind of how realistic it is or isn't. And a lot of the ones that they watched, they were kind of laughing at, they were able to poke fun at and say that, there was, absolutely no realistic approach to some of those animal attacks. But the one that they said was the most realistic was this bear attack. And even with that, information given to me, you can just see it, you don't need that animal expert to tell you that, but it is great to know that they think it passes for realism. And just watching the movie in and of itself, you can see it. It just feels natural. It feels dangerous. It feels very much how a bear would react from any videos or anything else that you may have seen or anything that you just kind of can learn about bears. But yeah, just knowing that animal experts say that scene is super accurate to what a bear would do, it just makes it that much better. And it just feels that way when you're watching it. It just brings this element of realism that a lot of movies just sometimes don't capture when it comes to animal attacks. So now you have Leonardo DiCaprio's character completely and utterly destroyed, throat being slit and everything, but he somehow survives. This is where Leonardo DiCaprio kind of loses the ability to speak throughout the rest of the movie, because most of his performance is facial, it's body language, it's grunts, it's groans. He doesn't really have a lot on the dialogue side of things because his character is literally incapable because of the attack. Tom Hardy's character ends up being tasked with taking care of Leonardo DiCaprio's character and his son, but he ends up using this as an upper hand to leave him for dead, as well as killing Leonardo DiCaprio's son right before his eyes. And that sets up this revenge tale that this movie is all about. For the most part, this movie is Leonardo DiCaprio's character completely and utterly destroyed and left for dead, with literally complete huge slashes in his body and like an open throat that's been torn, but he's somehow alive. He's wrapped up, he's bandaged somehow, just a little bit. And yeah, he ends up crawling and clawing his way, fighting back, trying to get back to Tom Hardy's character just to get some payback. And yeah, in and of itself, as a revenge tale, it's different. It feels great. It's really well acted. You really do root for the character played by Leonardo DiCaprio. You're with him from beginning to end. And beyond that, it's just an incredibly well put together film on every level. I think even if you don't like revenge tales, if you don't like the story, you don't like how it played out, there's no way you can deny that this film doesn't have incredible performances, great costume design, great use of practical effects, great CG that blends with the film, even if it is noticeable from time to time, and a commitment from the overall team to make a very realistic and very gritty, grounded, intense film. I also really love the use of natural lighting. The fact that they absolutely did not use studio lighting for this film and only used actual outdoor natural lighting to light this film. You can feel it. It brings an element of realism more to the film that a lot of films that do this kind of premise, or not the same premise, but this kind of movie out there back in the day, sometimes they don't capture that. Sometimes it looks too pretty. And I think that this film, though it's gorgeous, does a great job of feeling very real, very realistic, and having this grit to it because of the use of lighting and the way that they chose to go about that. Overall, on a technical level, I love this film. And beyond that, it's a great story with a great sense of satisfaction and revenge. Now that I've rambled my general thoughts on the movie and what the movie's all about, let's go ahead and hear what Esley from Entertainment Fanatic Reviews had to say about this.
Hey Anthony, thank you so much for letting me take part in this Revenant review. It's been a while since I've been on your channel. Last film we talked about was Jason Goes to Hell, which right here I have my custom-made Jason Goes to Hell mask, which very underrated film, the Friday 13th franchise, but that's besides the point. We're not talking about any of those films. We're talking about The Revenant, which The Revenant is the first film to get Leonardo DiCaprio to win an Oscar, which was really cool. He really does deserve it, but we'll get into that in a second. But quick little story about The Revenant. I saw this when it first came out 5 years ago, which I can't believe it's been 5 years, but I went with a group of a few family members. 4 people went, 2 liked it and 2 didn't, because none of us knew what this film was about going into it. So we expected a different type of film, and like I said, 2 people didn't really care for it and 2 of us did, and I'm one of the 2 people that did enjoy it. Me and my sister did. But yeah, it's a really great film, and all the positivity that it has is well deserved, because this is probably one of my favorite films that I've watched here recently, because I haven't really been watching too many movies and been playing more video games than I have movies, but that's besides the point. This one is a really good film, and I like it a lot better than I did when I first saw it, which even then I really liked it. So I don't know what I can add to the conversation that hasn't already been said about The Revenant, because I've seen a lot of people praise this film, and it deserves the praise that it gets. So The Revenant is pretty much about Leo's character is left for dead after a vicious bear attack, and one of those people that left him for dead also killed his son, which this film is just pretty much one of the best revenge tales that I've ever seen. That's pretty much all you need to know going into it. It does semi-spoil it, but that's pretty much what the film is about. The bear scene is vicious, even though the bear is CGI, and you can tell it's CGI, especially when you watch this film in 4K. I don't know how they did it, but it was really well done. And like I said, the visuals are great. This is one of those films that people told me to watch when I was new to 4K, and it really does show. If you haven't seen this film in 4K, I don't know what you're doing with your life. Go ahead and go out and get a 4K player just to watch this movie, and get a 4K TV, because this film is worth it. It is great. Despite its long run time, 2.5 hours, to some people that'd be a really long time. And, with certain films it does feel that way, but this one keeps you so interested in the plot and everything that's going on with the film. 2.5 hours, I wouldn't mind it going for 3, maybe 3.5, because I was really invested the whole time. The performances range from really good to spectacular, because everyone in here does a great job. You do have 4 standouts in here. You got Leo's character, of course, then you got Tom Hardy, Will Poulter, and I think Domhnall Gleeson, I think that's how you pronounce his name. If not, let me know. But those 4 are standouts, but everyone else that does take part in here that are familiar faces, they do pretty good as well. I mean, they don't have time to shine, but They do pretty good. Leo's just on top of another level than all these other people are, but it's still, everyone does really good, and I wouldn't have it any other way. While this film isn't particularly gory, it is very intense with the action and suspenseful scenes that it provides. You know, there's the bear attack that I was talking about, and there's times where you have Leo getting some types of trouble, and you're like, is he gonna make it? Is he not? It has you on the edge of its seat for most of the film in general, because you just want to see Leo get back to Tom Hardy's character, and he does, but I'll get into that in a minute. There is an aspect to this film that I'm not really fond of, and that has to be the strange dreamlike imagery that's scattered throughout this film, and some of it doesn't really make that much bit of sense. I mean, it includes his son and his wife. I mean, I get what they're going with it, but there's some times to where, like, she's floating in the air, and I'm like, what does that even mean? So there's just some weird imagery throughout that I could have done without. If that's the only negative that I have for this film, you know that you're doing a pretty good job with this film. So last but not least, I'm going to touch upon the ending. So spoilers. The ending scene is where he gets his revenge, but it doesn't play out just quite like you think it does. It does at first, and it does something different that, I don't know. I don't know. This sounds weird, but it's very beautiful in the way that they do it, because Leo's character and Tom Hardy are fighting beside a river, and then you have the Indians on the other side. And so once Leo has Tom Hardy, you know, in the grip of his hands, he just, you know, after he chokes him and everything, he just lets him float to the other side of the river, and the Indians do what they want to with Tom Hardy, and it's very satisfying. I haven't seen any other film that does quite the same thing that The Revenant does with its revenge scene, and I really do appreciate that. It's really cool. So with this film, I'm going to give it a light 9 out of 10. It's a really good film. You know, outside of that weird imagery, I think this is a film that you're going to enjoy if you're into that type of film, because this film shows what it can do with a father's love, which I don't have the best relationship with my dad, but if anything happened to my kids, it would be like I'd be like Leonardo DiCaprio in this film, you know. And I want to thank you so much for letting me take part in this collab with you, Anthony, on The Revenant, which I'm glad that we talked about this film. I've been wanting to rewatch this for the last 5 years, and it is quite a bit better than I remember it being. So if you guys haven't watched it, I highly recommend it, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.
A big thanks to Esley for being here in this video. Loved hearing your thoughts, my friend, and just very happy to have you in another video. And I'm glad to know that the two of us really enjoy this film. It seems like we're pretty much on the same level. And it's funny to hear that you went to go see the movie with 4 people and that 2 of you guys liked it and 2 of you guys didn't. Those 2 who didn't are missing out on a great movie, or they're blind. But anyway, a big thanks to you guys for watching so far. I hope you guys have been appreciating this video. I feel a little bit all over the place, but I just kind of want to get this video out at this point. But yeah, overall, I really enjoy The Revenant. I find this to be an incredibly well-acted, well-directed film that has so many great moments, great visual effects, and the commitment that Leonardo DiCaprio put into this role, not just on the performance level, but also the fact that he actually, you know, ate a real cow liver, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, for a scene in this movie. He did a lot of things where he put his body at danger to really commit to the performance, to really bring something real and tangible to this film, and he absolutely 110% deserved the Oscar that he ended up getting for this film. It's got to be one of my favorite revenge films I've ever seen, and as far as a period piece that goes back to this time and just feels so real and so tangible, it's got to be one of the better films to take place in this time frame. I really thoroughly enjoy the adventure, the effects, the use of practical effects, and just overall a phenomenal film. I'm so sorry for being all over the place in this video. I really don't have too much more to say other than this is a great movie, and if you have not seen this movie before, I highly recommend it. You guys can find the link to Esley's channel down below in the description box. Hit that like button down below if you guys enjoyed the video. Comment your thoughts, subscribe for more videos, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Go watch The Revenant, all right? Bye-bye.